Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2017, and today we're talking about Jeff Sessions. Oh yeah, our new Attorney General is in a bit of hot water here today. People on the left and people on the right were calling for him to recuse himself for any involvement with the 2016 campaign investigation as far as it relates to Russia and their so-called electioneering, any kind of interference from any other foreign entity as it relates to the election. They were calling for him to recuse himself because he lied to Al Franken about his involvement with Russia and the Trump campaign. Now, he has recused himself as of today. Right around 4:30 p.m. he did that in the press conference, but not for those specific reasons, which we'll get to a little bit later. Now, before we get into the whole rigmarole, my breakdown of it and all the ins and outs and ends, what I want to do right now is show you a quick video from Fox News that gives you a little bit more detail as to what's going on and how this story began. It all started from a Washington Post article that came out right around 10 o'clock p.m. last night, which is interesting timing, but I digress. We'll get to that a little bit later. But watch this video, then we'll come back. I'll give you a little bit more, and then I have more video to show. So without further ado, go ahead and roll it.
Some Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi and Elijah Cummings, are calling on Sessions to resign. Others say he has to recuse himself from the Department of Justice investigation into Russia and its involvement in the election campaign and what contacts it may have had with Trump campaign officials. On that point, the Democrats are getting support from Republican Jason Chaffetz. Listen to what he said a short time ago.
I think the Attorney General should further clarify his testimony, and I do think he should recuse himself.
The House, on the other hand, is saying there is no reason for the Attorney General to recuse himself from overseeing that investigation. Listen to what the press secretary, Sean Spicer, told our Abby Huntsman a short time ago in an exclusive interview to air tomorrow and Saturday on Fox and Friends. Watch here.
There's nothing to recuse himself. He was 100% straight with the committee, and I think that people who are choosing to play partisan politics with this should be ashamed of themselves.
The message that Sessions should not recuse himself from the investigation, according to Spicer, comes straight from President Trump. Democrats, on the other hand, are calling for the appointment of a special prosecutor to look into all of this. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, a short time ago saying that if Sessions does not agree to appoint a special prosecutor, then Congress should reinstitute the office of the Independent Counsel. And you might remember back in the 1990s, that office gave rise to the Ken Starr investigation that dogged the Clinton administration for pretty much 6 years.
Okay, so you see what's going on there. You have some of the background. You see what Spicer said. Spicer said that he should not recuse himself because the question that was asked of him, the $1 million question that was asked by Al Franken, did you have any involvement with the Donald Trump campaign and the Russians, like as far as one, meaning did anybody from the Russian Federation contact you and ask you about Donald Trump and the campaign, and did you convey any back and forth thing? They're trying to tie it to Michael Flynn because remember, Michael Flynn had talked to some people from the Russian Federation and then he lied to Mike Pence about it. It seemed kind of like he was trying to cover it up, and then he was forced to resign by Donald Trump. So they're trying to make it be the same thing, but that's not really what happened, because what Sessions did was answer the question as it was asked in the proper context. What I want to do right now is show you Jeff Sessions' response to what's going on here. I think he had a great response. He pretty much laid out all the points I had in an earlier video that I pretty much scrapped because I did my video before this statement came out. He let out everything perfectly. He explained what's going on. He explained that his role, his meeting with the Russian government or with the Russian Federation, with the ambassador, was not related to the Donald Trump campaign at all. It was because he was a senator of Alabama. And it was only on 2 occasions. One was at the RNC, where it was not just Jeff Sessions, but many other people. And it was also as his role in the Senate Armed Services Committee. And it was a private meeting in his office that was a result of that. So basically, he was just doing a job as a senator and not anything nefarious to try and undercut our so-called democracy. But without further ado, go ahead and roll it.
Let me share a few thoughts. First, about the comments that I made to the committee that have been said to be incorrect and false. Let me be clear. I never had meetings with Russian operatives or Russian intermediaries about the Trump campaign. And the idea that I was part of a, quote, continuing exchange of information during the campaign between Trump surrogates and intermediaries for the Russian government is totally false. That is the question that Senator Franken asked me at the hearing, and that's what got my attention as he noted it was the first, it's just breaking news. And it got my attention, and that is the question I responded to. I did not respond by referring to the two meetings, one very brief after a speech, and one with two of my senior staffers, professional staffers, with the Russian ambassador in Washington, where no such things were discussed. In my reply to the question of Senator Franken was honest and correct as I understood it at the time. I appreciate that some have taken the view that this was a false comment. That is not my intent. That is not correct. I will write the Judiciary Committee soon, today or tomorrow, to explain this testimony for the record. Secondly, at my confirmation hearing, I promised that I would do this. If a specific matter arose where I believed my impartiality might reasonably be questioned, I would consult with the department ethics officials regarding the most appropriate way to proceed, close quote. That's what I told them at the confirmation hearing. And I have been here just 3 weeks today. A lot has been happening in this 3-week period. I wish I'd had more of my staff on board, but we're still waiting for confirmation for them. Much has been done, much needs to be done, but I did and have done as I promised. I have met with senior officials shortly after arriving here. We evaluated the rules of ethics and recusal. I have considered the issues at stake. In fact, on Monday of this week, we set a meeting with an eye to a final decision on this question. And on Monday, we set that meeting today. So this was a day that we planned to have a final discussion about handle this. I asked for their candid and honest opinion about what I should do about investigations, certain investigations. And my staff recommended recusal. They said that since I had involvement with the campaign, I should not be involved in any campaign investigation. I have studied the rules and considered their comments and evaluation. I believe those recommendations are right and just. Therefore, I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign. The exact language of that recusal is in the press release that we will give to you. I've said this, quote, I have now decided to recuse myself from any existing or future investigations of any matter relating in any way to the campaigns for President of the United States. I went on to say this announcement should not be interpreted as confirmation of the existence of any investigation or suggestive of the scope of any such investigation, because we in the Department of Justice resist confirming or denying the very existence of investigation. So, in the end, I have followed the right procedure, just as I promised the committee I would, just as I believe any good Attorney General should do. And a proper decision, I believe, has been reached.
Okay, so you see what's going on there. You see what he was talking about. To me, it makes perfect sense. You know, you are a senator. You have certain duties and responsibilities. You must adhere to that. So, you know, I don't see the problem there. Now, the timing, like I said earlier, was very interesting because maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not, but I'm thinking, how did the Washington Post know to release that story at 10 o'clock p.m. last night? How long did they know the information? Because I assume that it couldn't have been that much of a secret if you met with the Russian ambassador at the RNC. So I'm sure it was not a secret that it could have been released by anybody at any time up until right now, because the RNC was quite a while ago. So why is it just now getting released just one just a few hours before a meeting was scheduled to see whether he should recuse himself or not. I think that there may have been some leaks going on. Somebody in the White House leaking some more information. You know, you had Barack Obama be questioned for that, but I'm not sure if that's true or false, but I digress. I'll let you make your own mind up. But there may be some leaks, and I'm not quite sure who it is, because how would you know that there's going to be a meeting?
In fact, on Monday of this week, we set a meeting with an eye to a final decision on this question. And on Monday, we set that meeting today.
I think they did that because it makes it look like he recused himself because of the Russia involvement. You see, you had a story that comes out at 10 o'clock p.m. the night before, and then at 4 o'clock p.m. the day after, you say you recuse yourself. So the average person that's not really astute as far as political knowledge, they just put two and two together. Oh, a story came out, and then now he recuses himself. But that's not what happened. The meeting was scheduled anyway to see if it made sense for him to go forward because of any bias that could be questioned about him and Donald Trump's campaign, because he was called a surrogate at one point in time. So he did the right thing here due to the rules and due to what made sense, but it was not because he did anything wrong. And he stressed that point during the actual talk here at the press conference. Now, I'll be interested to see if the lamestream news media will play this entire thing, or will they just take out the little snippets that relate to the Russia story, which I pretty much am sure they'll do. That's why a guy like me is here to give you the real spiel, and links to everything I say will be in the comments below. The original Washington Post story, the press conference here, and also anything else I have, I'll put that in the box. But it's interesting to see how the Democrats have reacted to this, especially since you've had other improprieties from attorney generals before that did not get this kind of attention. Remember the Fast and Furious scandal with Mr. Eric Holder and also Barack Hussein Obama, when they pretty much ran guns to the southern border to try and track them back to the heads of the cartel, which obviously did not work. And some of those guns actually turned up in murders at the border. Something like 2,000 guns. Now, that caused Eric Holder to resign, but he did not get brought up in any kind of criminal charges. Now, you have some on the left that are saying that Sessions should get brought up on charges for what he did. But what did he really do? All he did was do his job. You see, there's much more egregious offenses other than doing your job that happened on the left. You saw what happened with, like I said, Eric Holder and the gun running. And also, let's look at Loretta Lynch, also another former attorney general. What did she do about the Slick Willie situation? Remember when she was in the tarmac, I think it was in Phoenix, Arizona, and for some reason, President Bill Clinton was there to intercept her and to board her plane, basically ambushed her and bombarded her with a bunch of questions for about 30 minutes outside of the view of any cameras, outside of the view, maybe even Secret Service. It was a closed door private meeting during the period of time when you had Hillary Clinton, who lied and who actually did things that were egregious and who actually had bad ties with Russia or ties that could be considered questionable. I mean, had anybody asked about the Uranium One deal, where she was instrumental in getting 20% of our uranium supply in North America sent to the Russians, right? And their nuclear power. So why would that not be an issue? Obviously, Jeff Sessions has not done anything like that. Neither has Donald Trump. But for some reason, all the energy is focused on Trump and Sessions and not Hillary Clinton, who has obviously a much more serious bond between her and the Russian Federation with much more serious implications. But I digress. There's a lot more that's going on in the government, on the left especially, or that has gone on, that did not get this kind of attention. I think the main reason behind all of this is because they're just trying to get Jeff Sessions out of there. It's been a concerted effort since the beginning of the actual campaign. You saw what happened at the Senate confirmation hearings, which was a big circus. You had the Congressional Black Caucus led by one Cedric Richmond to try and say how bad of a guy he was, try to allude to him being racist. And the same thing came from Cory Booker, the mayor, senator from New Jersey. I think he was the mayor of Newark, and now he's a senator. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the box. But just 1 year ago, gave him a glowing review in Alabama because Jeff Sessions had co-sponsored an event to honor those that walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to fight for civil rights in 1964 and 65. Right? He was just there giving them a glowing review. Now all of a sudden he's the worst thing in the world. He's like Satan himself. So how was it such a big switch from 1 year to the other? It's a big political game being played here to delegitimize anyone relating to Donald Trump. Because if Sessions had not come into the Trump administration, there would not be all this vitriol hatred towards him. And the whole thing about Russia, all this Russophobic talk. Yes, I say Russophobic. That's appropriate here. And it's inappropriate for all the talk that's being, thrown in Russia's direction. What it's going to do, if people take it seriously, is beginning of the Cold War. And I'm not really sure why anybody's buying into it. I think maybe because of the propaganda we've had in the past, in the TV and movies. Look at the Rocky movies. You had Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies. Big bad Russian, tough guy. Boris and Natasha, Rocky and Bullwinkle, all that kind of stuff that we've had all throughout our history to make Russia be this big bad guy. And I'm not wanting to just put on the cape for any country, but I'm just saying, where's the reasoning behind this? It doesn't make any sense. What have they done to us? You could say that they invaded Crimea, but so what? I mean, what does that got to do with us? I mean, and invaded, they were already there. They had the military right there. They were leasing it from Ukraine, but now they don't have to lease it anymore. But that's a whole different story, and I digress. My point is that it was not like an armed invasion. So why were you over there worried about that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I say it's a witch hunt trying to get Jeff Sessions involved in any kind of problems they can find him in to just delegitimize him and also the Trump administration. The same thing they did with Michael Flynn. The same thing they try to do with everybody. They try to find holes in their character. They're trying to find any little thing. You get these so-called news organizations, these so-called journalists trying to find things. I think they're being paid by shadow governments, by deep state type stuff. Maybe not. Maybe it's a personal crusade to just try and go against Trump any kind of way possible because they feel personally convicted. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think at the end of the day, as I close here, I think they are useful idiots, those that are being used by people that want to use them for whatever they want to use them for. Maybe they don't know they're being used, but they are. But what do you think? Do you think that he should have recused himself according to the rules and according to the situation that was going on? Do you think that since he recused himself, people that are not really understanding what politics are, they'll just link it to the story that came out last night about Russia and him, but they won't look at the greater picture and what he actually said during the press conference, that it was not because of Russia and any kind of impropriety. It was because he was involved with the campaign, and he is involved with the campaign, obviously, because now he was appointed by Trump to be the attorney general. So therefore, any kind of involvement on his end in the Russia investigation as relates to the campaign may be improper. Or do you think, I'm being soft, do you think that this guy Sessions is just the spawn of Satan, is the worst guy in the world, that he did a wrong thing here? Now, if he did something wrong, please tell me what he did wrong. There's no evidence of him selling any kind of state secrets or anything like that. The only thing that people have is that he may have lied to Al Franken, but as I outlined, he did not lie. But if you know better than me, if you have a different opinion about that, please let me know in the comments below. That's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.